Hello guys and girls, I should be doing something a little different today. I should be talking about the differences between AMD and Nvidia and where your hard-earned money or savings should be going and what you should be buying. Some of you might be first-time buyers into the PC market, and with the PC gaming market now worth 26 billion as of last year, it's superseded the console game sales, so definitely PC gaming is looking brighter for the future. This video is more about advisory on what is what, and you can decide at the end of it where your money goes. For some of the older hands, of course, you probably already know most of what I'm talking about, but there's a few new guys who won't really know and wouldn't mind a bit of advice, so I should do my best to try and cover all the basics about buying a GPU from AMD or Nvidia. One of the first things I ever notice on forums when new guys ask about what should I be buying, AMD or Nvidia, is drivers gets mentioned quite a bit. And historically, ATI back in the day before AMD bought them, they didn't have a great name. In the early part of AMD's GPU years, they didn't have a great name. But as times have gone on, things have tightened up a little bit. Both vendors do a great job really. If you're just running single card, single monitor, there's no real complaints and everything basically works. You might get the odd bug in a driver, but both of them are pretty much on the ball and soon get on top of it. With drivers moving on quickly, both Nvidia and AMD have added additions. There's things like Shadow Play and Game GVR. Shadow Play is Nvidia's recording software, so you can record your gameplay, upload it to YouTube, live stream straight on Twitch or YouTube, and Game GVR records your gameplay. Both do a great job. Game GVR I feel gives a slightly better image in my experiences. The picture was slightly better, and Nvidia's does a better job. It can record 4K at 60 frames per second, whereas GVR is only limited to 1080p 60 frames per second, so there's pluses and minuses there for either. There's also upscaling, where if you've got a 1080p monitor you can make it a 4K image. It's not literal, it just compresses the image, so if you've got jagged edges you can get rid of those, but it does require a bit more grunt from the GPU, and both do this. For AMD it's called VSR, and for Nvidia it's called DSR. Both are optional installs. You don't have to have them if you don't want them, so it's your choice if you have them. If you want to record your gameplay, go for it. If not, don't bother. So to summarise with drivers, if you just want a game, there's nothing in between the two of them. If you like a bit of recording, a bit of high resolution on your monitor, they both got pluses and minuses there, so you decide what way you want to go there. Right, moving on, we'll start with G-Sync versus FreeSync. Right, so you understand your drivers a bit better now, and you're ready to go and buy a monitor to go with your nice GPU, and you see there's G-Sync, FreeSync, or just standard monitors. So you're wondering, what on earth do I go for? Well, G-Sync only works with Nvidia, and FreeSync only works with AMD. So you're sort of tied in between the two. Basically, they're variable refresh monitors. They output whatever your GPU outputs up to X amount of frames. In my case, I've got a ROG Swift monitor. It outputs up to 144 frames per second, and whilst it's doing that, it keeps it all nice and smooth and stutter free. The basics of G and FreeSync are, you get, in the olden days you used to get tearing in games. As gamers we blocked it out, but you could still see it now and again, and it was off-putting. Something I never liked, but I accepted it. It was no other choices, so you get on with it. In September of 2014, Nvidia came out with the first G-Sync monitor. I jumped on shortly after and bought the 2560 by 1440 ROG Swift, and it was a complete game changer. It was so smooth, everything ran perfectly, and it sold me on the tech. You know, I thought I was not really going to notice, but I did, and especially when I stopped using G-Sync for a couple of weeks, it really did stand out what we have to put up with as gamers. So G-Sync and V-Sync with their variable refresh are real pluses for buying a monitor, and something I would definitely advise anyone to look into. The only problem is, as I say, it's proprietary. Now Nvidia had no choice other than to put a scaler in the monitor because there wasn't the hardware on the GPU, and AMD soon realised what was going on, realised that their own GPUs could actually do it via the GPU, and they asked VESA to make it a standard, which has been done. It was about a year after, but yeah, both can do this. G-Sync does come in slightly dearer than FreeSync, purely because the scaler's not cheap. Obviously the cost has to be accounted for somewhere, so again, you need to look into this. If you're down at 25 frames per second as well, G-Sync works all the way there. It works all the way down at 1 frames per second, whereas FreeSync stops working at whatever the monitor's refresh rate is, the lowest. So it could be between let's say 40 frames per second and 75 I've seen in some cases, or even 48 and 75. So just be aware of that. Make sure you take all of that on board before deciding to buy your monitor. Not a full in-depth explanation there, but I want to keep this quite brief, so look into it a bit further if you want to know more. Okay, that was a brief explanation there. Like I say, if you want to know more, look on forums and websites and read up on it. Righto, let's move on to prices. Now, at the top end of Nvidia scale, you've got the Titan X, which is a lot of money. It comes with 12GB of VRAM, which is totally unnecessary. You've got the 980 Ti under that, and that comes in at around £550, so not too badly priced there. It's still a lot of money, of course, but that's your top end card, and that's only for your hardcore benchers, gamers who could afford that. On the AMD side, you've got the Fury X, fantastic card, comes in roughly the same price, maybe slightly less than the 980 Ti now, but fantastic card. Comes with HBM memory, high bandwidth memory, which is roughly 60% faster than 512-bit DDR5 memory, which you get on the 980 Ti, so it's better for high resolutions. The 4GB of HBM was never an issue for me. People say about running out of VRAM, but at 1440p, the only game I ever ran out of VRAM was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, but that wasn't a biggie, just turned down the AA a little bit and it ran fine. So yeah, you've got the 980 Ti versus the Fury X at the top end of the scale. Both those cards are suited for 1440p gaming, in my opinion. They both do a fantastic job, can cope pretty much with any and every game going. So yeah, if you've got a 2560 by 1440p monitor, that's really where you want to be looking if you want all the settings up. Next up, you have the 980 versus the Fury, the GTX 980 from Nvidia versus AMD's Fury. Again, the Fury comes with 4GB of HBM memory, while the 980 comes with 4GB of 256-bit GDDR5. Now, both perform well, but the Fury edges this by a bit. Favours the Fury in most of the games I've checked. So yeah, if you're looking at that end of the scale, my money would go for the Fury, and both will excel at 1080p, and you'd have to turn the odd setting down at 1440p. But yeah, brilliant car for 1080p and perfect for 1440p if you're quite happy to turn the odd setting down, turn the anti-aliasing down, anti-aliasing. Next up, we have the GTX 970 versus the 390X, if you like. I'll put them two in the same category. Both of them slightly faster. The 390X obviously slightly faster than the 390 still, but very good price there. All three of them great cards. I've had a 290X and a 970. Both performed fantastically, especially at 1080p. I could run pretty much with everything turned up. Well, I could run with everything turned up at 1080p and no issues at all. I feel the 390X is a bit of a redundant card. It doesn't really have a place in the market, but the 390 does. At its price, it's a great competitor to the the 970 and slightly cheaper, so not a bad card there at all. I should also mention that the 390 comes with 8GB of GDDR5 512-bit memory, which is a real nice card if you want to add another one. So you go crossfire, and in games which it's supported you can get almost double your frames, sometimes double your frames, so worth mentioning that. Whereas the 970 only comes with 4GB of GDDR5, which is running at 256-bit, so not an ideal card for SLI. Generally, if you're going to SLI, you're going for high resolutions, and 4GB pushing it a little bit at the bigger reses nowadays, so just be aware of that. 390 big plus there, 970 not so much, same as the 980. And finally we go to the GTX 960 versus AMD's 380. Both good cards. The 380 edges it again for me because it's slightly faster. The 960 runs a little bit cooler, so it's slightly better there, but that's never really a major issue. But yeah, both the entry level cards I'd consider, both cheapest chips and ideal for 1080p, and if you don't mind turning the odd setting down, go for one of those. Either one of those will do you well. If you're looking to game at Ultra HD 4K, you really want to be looking at 6GB plus, so the 980 Ti, and ideally two of them at a minimum. So 980 Ti, I'm not a fan of the Fury X for that resolution because I don't feel the 4GB is enough. Maybe someone's going to tell me I'm wrong. I never got to try it at 4K, so I can't really answer that. But for me, yeah, 6GB plus if you're looking at 4K or even higher, 5K. So I think I've explained about the different vendor techs. I've probably missed a few bits out, but just trying to keep it a little bit shorter. You can decide what GPU you go for, really. You set your budget out. Neither are going to do you any harm, as I say, for a single card and a single monitor gaming. So yeah, set your budget out and go for what you like. Don't forget about your GameWorks and certain effects not working on AMD cards, but on the whole most of them do work, so you can't go wrong with either AMD or Nvidia. Anyway, thanks for watching, appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed this short GPU comparison, and see you next time. Bye for now.